Hey, welcome to Let's Know Buffalo. Today's guest, Chris Ring, currently with Recck Room.
Yep.
Co-owner.
Co-owner of Recck Room. Yep.
I feel like we are very similar in the entrepreneurial spirit that like you got started very early in your career.
Yeah.
And kind of worked for yourself ever since.
Right.
What made you want to be an entrepreneur and what got you started?
I think like most people, you fall into it. You know, that was never
Sure.
my plan. I went to college for environmental science, so I had bigger dreams and aspirations, I guess, than being self-employed and booking concerts and running a bar sort of scenario. But you know, I guess we'll say it started in high school. I went to St. Joe's, graduated in 1997. St. Joe's being an all-boys school, it was kind of tough to meet women. So the era that I grew up in from a music standpoint was more of a DIY punk rock, hardcore metal scene. So you're going to like a lot of like local concerts, a lot of local bands. But there's kids at these shows like selling magazines, what we call zines, and they had little distros where they're selling records, and it was a very DIY mentality. It was kids putting the shows on, renting out VFW halls, and you kind of saw this collective of just like the people of the shows creating the shows.
Sure. And it was that was like before the internet really
This
got
this is pre
digital.
AOL.
Yeah.
This is like dial-up days.
Sure.
So, you know, you're handing flyers out at the mall. There's no texting. It was really those like DIY archaic, like person to person kind of like ways of marketing.
Sure.
So yeah, so in high school, I basically started a band. Decided I'll be a drummer. Absolutely horrible. Didn't even use the kick pedal. And, you know, we just were loud and fast, and it was just fun, right? Me, my cousin, and a couple of buddies. We had 50 different incarnations of people joining the band, leaving the band, because it was just more so like a joke.
Yeah.
But it gave us, one, the ability to say we're in a band, which at that time, you know, was all that really mattered. Nobody cared how good you were. And it was a time where there really wasn't social media, there wasn't online. So as a high schooler, you're going to the mall. Yeah. Every weekend, you're just at the mall. Every weekend. And, you know, being at St. Joe's, a lot of guys that go there, they live all over, right? So you go to the mall, you still see guys from Clarence, from Amherst, Cheektowaga, whatever. You meet up with their friends, and people start talking. I wear a Metallica t-shirt. You got a Guns N' Roses t-shirt on. All right, you're a music guy. We start connecting, and you see the same people at the mall every weekend. So, you know, we were eager to get a show for our band. Nobody would book us because our demo tape was really, really bad. I mean, we had a song called Stop Go, where it's literally saying, go, stop, go, like real bad. So we decided to take it upon ourselves. We went to a birthday party at a roller rink in West Seneca a couple like weeks back, and it was like $300 to rent the roller rink. So we called the roller rink and said, "Hey, we have a birthday party. Can we rent
feel
it?"
Like the real estate agents just had a dodgeball tournament.
Oh, really? Yeah. So it's DJ Spinners. They had a new incarnation in life. So DJ Spinners in West Seneca, shout out. Let my cousin and I rent it out for a birthday party, and it wasn't a birthday party. Sure. We told them we want to have some bands play. They said fine, and we were at the mall every weekend just flying. You know, come to the show, see our band. Our friends' bands played. Charged $6 a pop. At the time, I was making I think $4 an hour working at brand names as a stock boy, and over 300 kids showed up, and the roller rink was ecstatic. They were like, "Holy shit!" The Saturday afternoon, early hours, we had 300 people here renting roller skates, playing the games, eating the popcorn. Excuse me, and they were loving it. And the bands obviously had an amazing time. We had a great time. It was our first show, and we walked out of there with like $1,800. Paid the bands a couple $100 each, and then again, 1997 is like a ton of money. So we're like, wow, we were riding high off of that. And then the roller rink place was like, hey, we'd love to have you back next month. So we started hosting these more local showcases with our band or our friends' bands in the like more punk rock world. And the shows were just constantly delivering. A couple hundred kids. All the mall rats needed somewhere to go. And it kind of boosted, we'll call like, you know, our first start in the music business. And back in that time period, the bands that we grew up listening to would have like their contact information on their records and their CDs. You know, wants to come play your city, call us, email us. So we started reaching out to bands regionally, you know, New York City, Ohio, Detroit, Toronto, and said, hey, we got this unique thing. Why don't you guys come play here? You know, we'll throw you gas money and some pizza and let you stay at our apartment kind of thing. And we started building that brand up, and these bands were coming to town playing in front of hundreds of kids that would just buy all their t-shirts and like would just lose their minds over them. And these bands were like, wow, this is like a really unique scenario that's happening in Buffalo right now. And, you know, we took it and kind of ran with it. And from that point, we started reaching out to like bigger bands, a little further outside the comfort zone. And friends of ours that were in bands, as they started getting bigger, started referring us as like their go-to guys in Buffalo, because we really hustled. We were out there promoting constantly. You know, the word promoter is meant to be a promoter, right? there are people in the industry that more or less buy talent, but there's really guys that like know how to promote and market the brand in the bands that they're playing. So we cut our teeth doing like the door to door kind of hand to hand flyering, going to big shows, going to the malls all across Rochester, Syracuse, Erie.
We were just talking about like door to door sales and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at this age, I'm beyond that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to sound like I'm above anything, but
Right.
if you're new into any industry, like get out there, knock on the doors, cold call, whatever you got to do. And I'm just, you know,
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow.
yeah, right. But
I don't think I would do that now.
No,
Right.
because you're well established, right?
Right.
But there was a time that, again, I was cleaning toilets and
Right.
you know, vacuuming and doing all the dirty shit that side of the business,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. But you got to learn it all and say
Yeah.
you've done it all, so
Yep.
people understand. Like, oh wow, like
And now you know what you don't want to do anymore,
100%.
and that I'll never do anymore unless I really have to.
Yeah, those days are. I don't hate them. I'm glad I did it.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
to
yeah.
look back and be like, wow, what the
Yeah.
hell were we thinking? You know. But it paved the way for us. You know, all the careers that we have today. So I'm definitely thankful and grateful for those opportunities. So yeah, long story short, we're booking these bands. Things are going great. Some friends of ours started getting bigger and bigger. They would start getting booking agents, things like that. And we got our first break in 1999. Vanilla Ice went metal, and some friends of ours got to open up for him in Cleveland. This
Okay.
band that we really liked. So my cousin and I drove up there. We're talking to their merch guy, and he's like, "Oh, there's another tour that they're booking. You guys should try to book it." And I was 18 at the time. My cousin's 19, and we're like, Vanilla Ice. I mean, the last time he played was the Arena in
Right.
Buffalo with MC Hammer. So we're like, "There's no way." He's like, "No, here's his info. Call." You know. So we call him and lied through our teeth. We pretended that we booked X, Y, and Z. And we're like, hey, if Vanilla Ice really is going in this like metal hardcore world, we're the guys that promote this stuff. And the guy's like, well, make me an offer. And just like you, like with real estate, you know, you
Sure.
submit an offer, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a standard format. We didn't know the standard format. So we
Right.
wrote an essay as to why he should let us book Vanilla Ice. And went to Kinko's, faxed it to Kinko's, faxed it to their office, changed my parents' answer machine message to be a business. We were called DC Connections, Don and Chris. My dad's like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, I got to answer this phone. How? I'm like, Dad, if they call, we got to be
Yeah.
legit, you know? So literally, no matter who called, DC Connections, DC Connections. And he finally called
All
back.
your friends and family are like,
What is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents are explaining that the kids have some gimmick that they're doing, whatever. And he finally calls back and he's like, yo, got your offer, got your letter, great story. How much you paying us? And we're like, oh,
Let's
well,
get
how
to the
much do you
point.
want? And he's like, well, you tell me. We're like, oh, well, the place holds 600 people at $20. We'll give you all the money. We'll give you 12 grand. Not realizing you have to pay security and for the venue and
Mhm.
all the nuances that come with putting on a concert. And he's like, done. And like sells us the show. It was the day the Offspring were playing ECC College downtown. Because I remember we made flyers because they mentioned Vanilla Ice in their one song. We're like, oh, this connects. Had no connection, but made these flyers where Kinko's went down there, flyer, and we were just high on life that we booked Vanilla Ice out of nowhere. Fast forward that show, we're about 2 weeks out. We've sold 0 tickets.
Got it.
I'm telling you, like 30 tickets. And we locked the venue in and we realized, like, man, we're like $2,500 short to pay everybody
Right.
because we're giving him all the money. And like I said, I'm at brand names. My cousin's at Denny's. Like, we have no money. So we're like, what are we going to do? And we're like, we're just not going to go. Like, screw it. Like, we're kids. You know what I mean? Like, oops, shouldn't have sold us the show. So we actually flip a coin. My cousin loses. We call the agent. We're like, listen, we can't do the show. We hang up. We're like, all right, we're out of it. He calls back. He's like, guys, you can't just cancel. Like, what's the problem? And it's like, you want $1 million in insurance. You want a Rolls Royce to pick you up at the airport. Like, we don't have any of these things. And he's like, well, I'm sure the venue has insurance, so we're good. And you know what? He's in his own tour bus, so don't worry about that. Just pick him up at the hotel. Like, all these little things. We hang up the phone. We're like, we saved $300. So we're like, you know what? We're just not going to go. And that Friday, Gusto printed a photo of Vanilla Ice coming to town. And Janet and Nick on the morning show thought it was the wildest thing that Vanilla Ice was like bringing his hardcore sound to the Showplace Theater when he played the Arena in front of like 30,000 people.
Uh-huh.
They started a countdown to Vanilla Ice. And they talked about it all Friday.
Gotcha.
That
Bullshit.
Monday morning, every record store that we had tickets called us, they were sold out.
Got it.
And we're like, holy shit. And the show was on a Wednesday or Thursday. Every day we'd bring tickets, they were sold out. We're at Kinko's making more tickets, sold out. Like, we didn't have a Ticketmaster contract. We're literally
Right.
just making little flyers. And the day the show comes, we're completely sold out in advance. And Vanilla Ice's tour manager shows up to the show, and I got my Janko jeans, size 40. You know, my cousin has bleached blonde hair, Hare Krishna beads, and I
All
mean,
shredded on the
literally
bottom
looking like
and
we're
wet.
teenagers. And he's like, you know, where's the promoters? And we're like, oh, that's us. And the guy's like looking at us like, no way. Like, where's the promoters? Like, no, it's us. And Like, how's the show doing? We're like, oh, it's sold out. He's like, get the hell out. So, shining top 5 days of my life kind of thing, like pulling this thing off. It was cool because, they needed somebody to go pick up Vanilla Ice at the hotel. And they're like, well, where's the runner? And I'm like, well, what's a runner? Well, we need somebody to get Vanilla Ice from the hotel. We're like, all right, I'll do it. So I get all my boys. We load my mom's 87 Dodge Caravan, go to the hotel, leave the middle seat open. I got like 4 boys in the back.
Come up in a minivan.
Oh, dude. So, and we all, Jenko's freaking horrible gear, go up to this hotel room because it's pre-cell phones.
Sure.
Knock on the door, security opens the door. He's like, can I help you? We're like, yeah, we're the promoters. We're here to pick up ice. He's like, hang on. Closes the door in our face, comes back. He's like, you're the promoters? We're like, yeah. He's like, go wait in the car. So we go wait in the car. We're all excited. He comes down. He's like, no shit, you guys are the promoters, huh? He's like, words of wisdom. You never pick up an artist with your own entourage. And my guys in the back seat, like, whatever. And next thing you know, Vanilla Ice gets in my mom's minivan. He's like, what's up, guys? I'm Rob. I'm like, what up, Rob? I'm Chris. And like, boom, that was it. So we ended up broing down with him that night. His tour manager was like ecstatic with us the night. We gave them everything they wanted.
Sure.
They invited us to go on tour. We went to Rochester the next night, did like 5 nights in a row with these guys. Just kind of followed them, got to know them. And that was like our real like leap into the real part of the music business, because now his real agent started calling us all the time for his bands.
Sure, you proved your worth.
Yeah, the opening bands, they were calling us as like new promoters in Buffalo. So it kind of went from, that was like the first real show of us booking bands that we didn't necessarily like.
Mm-hmm.
That was more or less from a business standpoint.
Right.
The next show we actually did was for I think a German death metal band called Neurosis that we lost like $6,000. Had to borrow money from our grandmother. We were like, we have no fucking money. Like, what are we gonna do? But like, we're already like in it and had booked so many shows like off of that we had kind of coming up that it was kind of like, we're kind of carving out a niche here. Like, we should kind of see where this goes. And that was that. So I mean, from the first start, from like an independent standpoint, that was like I'll call it our first break. The thing that's unique about our industry, at least the music business, is not everybody does it.
Right.
There's kind of this level of barrier of just the how. You can't just go open up a business and be like, oh, I'm gonna sell smoothies and or I'm gonna do a Burger King or buy a franchise. It's like, it really is like, you wake up, what am I gonna do today? I don't know. I haven't talked to this guy in a minute. Let me just call him and see what's going on. You know? So a lot of it was really relationship based, and through mutual friends and things like that, we got a lot of like positive referrals. So we started gaining some traction that way. I started going to Buff State in '97. My advisor, told me I should join like the chair, the committee there at Buff State doing the entertainment. They were dying. They were getting their asses kicked by Canisius and UB for concerts all the time. So I joined that committee, and the student union board made me the entertainment chairman for the school. And this is a story I haven't really told on camera before. Or
Here we go. Is it a good one?
This is borderline legal, not illegal, but we'll see. Went to Buff State, joined the student union board. They made me the entertainment chairman based off of my experience booking concerts. And I learned real quick that any school organization, if you don't use your budget, you lose it next year. An insane model, right? So we're booking shows, and I got 2 months left to the end of the year, and I got $12,000 left. Well, I'm going to call my buddy's band, and it's like, yo, I'm going to book you to play the student union, give you $5,000. I'm your manager for the day, so you're going to pay me a commission for the booking. Buff State gets their concert. My boys' bands get to play a sick show on the campus in front of all the kids, make it a sick payday, and I get an additional commission, right? So to me, it was like a home run. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Well, the following year, the budget always increased a little bit, and they wanted a big fall fest. So I reached out to a friend of mine, the guy that booked Vanilla Ice, and he was booking the MTV Campus Invasion Tour with Nickelback. Work out a deal. We bring Nickelback MTV to Buff State. The guy, Tom Calderone at the time, graduated from Buff State. Now he's running MTV.
Oh, no
so it's kind of this like unique story of like bringing it back. And MTV came over and like took over the campus.
That's so cool.
And it was awesome. I mean, from a college age of the 90s, MTV was everything still, So to get that show,
I know we're old, but the 90s were the best.
The 90s were the best. I mean, I'm stuck in the 90s still. So the show sold out. It was Buff State's first sellout in like 12 years. So everybody was ecstatic. We're thrilled. Now I'm thinking like, where else can I go with this?
Yeah.
Book this monster show. And basically I asked Buff State for more money. We're like, hey, we should do a Spring Fest next year. And they approved the budget, So the following year we come back, and I'm sitting here in like one of my electives, stop, drop, and roll. And it's just like, what am I doing here? Like, I got people emailing me for shows. I started doing shows in Rochester at this point. And I'm kind of like twiddling my thumbs here. Like, okay, I was going to go to school for environmental science, basically in Syracuse or like West Virginia. Came to Buff State first just because like all my friends went there and it was
Yep.
close and I was still unsure. So I'm like, I'll figure it out. Now I'm like sitting here wasting my time as a student learning about nonsense when like I have real business opportunities at 20 years old kind of happening that like I'm not getting to. So that was like an early struggle of like, what do I do? How do I handle this? And I realized
I couldn't wait to be done with college so I could
I went to Buff State for 8.5 years and I never graduated. So I learned at this point that as long as I was an activity fee paying student, I never lost my position as the entertainment chairman. So once I was voted in, it was mine to lose. So I started my company that year. Chris, the entertainment chairman, would hire After Dark Entertainment to be the booker for all of the Buff State concerts.
Stuff. Here we go.
And you would basically funnel everything through my company.
Yeah.
And any band across America, their value or their cost for a college is double. For whatever reason, it's not their fans. It's always like students only can get tickets sort of thing.
Right.
So if they're going to waste a play in that market, they want to get paid more money.
Gotta be
So still with my relationships, I was still always able to negotiate a pretty good rate, but would still allow me to charge the school double. So whatever that extra cushion was like my vig on top, right? And then one year they wanted Good Charlotte. They were like, we want Good Charlotte. We want Good Charlotte. Like, oh, we only have 40 grand. I'm like, well, Good Charlotte's 40 grand. You know, what are we going to do here? I'm like, you know what? I'll pay for the security, the advertising, everything out of my end. After Dark will co-promote the event with you. And whatever's left over, you know, like I keep, cause I'm taking the risk, but you guys get the show, you get the band that you want. I'll give you the 2,000 student tickets at $10. It's a win-win. And they were like, wow, you would do that? I was like, absolutely, I would do that. Well, Good Charlotte wasn't 40 grand. Good Charlotte was like 25 grand. So their 40 paid for everything.
Right.
I kept 100% of the door, bought a brand new Explorer that spring, and just started like this like weird college booking business that the school was super stoked because they're getting constantly sold out shows after sold out shows. Everything was within their budget. But I learned the way to like not manipulate the system, but play within.
But you were playing within the
rules.
Line, yeah.
Whether I get it or the next guy gets it, somebody's upcharging it.
Yep.
So it's like, don't penalize me.
Yep.
And so I basically would sign up for my classes. I would withdraw the next day. And I wouldn't go back to the last possible day. And I would withdraw so it didn't affect like my 2.8 GPA or whatever it was.
Which means nothing now in the real world.
Exactly. Right? And even in the interim of all this stuff, while I was booking the shows, I was still doing a ton of concerts downtown. So a lot of the organizations, the Caribbean Student Organization, the Lesbian Gay Associations, the Dungeons and Dragons clubs, were all doing like their events, their formals off campus. And I was like, well, listen, I got a great relationship with this club or this club or this club. If you want to do your stuff there, I get the room for like $4 grand. They're like, oh my God, we'd love to do that. I get the room for a G. So I was basically the Van Wilder of the school, where I'd go in every Tuesday to Bengal Paws and meet with every organization. What do you need coming up? What do you guys got? Okay, I got this venue for you. I got this venue for you. That's awesome. They'd pay me. I'd pay the club their take. I'd make the rest. But all these organizations would do this stuff at midnight where they would tell the school they were charging everybody $5 if you weren't a student, but there's inflation at midnight and they're charging 20, but they're not telling the school. So I realized that early on. I didn't give a shit. It was their organization. Right. So nobody was rocking the boat. I was getting them their venues. They were doing their thing. I'm working with every organization. I'm booking the concerts. It was awesome. I had a great run. Like I said, I was at Buff State for eight years, I think it was.
When did it finally like get to the end where you're like, I have to leave Buff State?
Yeah,
8 years of college now.
So 2005, I was still punk rock. Yeah. So the school was double dipping a lot in expenses. So every time we would do an event on campus, they would double charge us security. They would double charge us a million things. But we're a student organization, so we're supposed to get the room for free. But because we outsourced it and brought in After Dark, and even at this time, I actually they started to ask some questions. So a buddy of mine worked for a company called Clear Channel that I brought in as like a partner with me. They said that because we brought in a third party, it would constitute like a rental.
Yeah.
But all the security guards would bring their brother, their uncles, their cousins, and they're all standing in a corner and they're charging us $45 an hour and they're not doing shit. So I'm sitting here like, this is ridiculous. Like I need this guy here, because now I know what I'm doing. Right. And at the time though, they treated me like I was a student. I'm a kid. And they're like, fuck you. And I was like, guys, it costs me less money to do a show at Shays than it would for me to do on campus. So why would I keep doing shows here when at the end of the day, the cost is what matters. So we did our Fall Fest with Lloyd Banks of G Unit out in Niagara Falls at the Dome. Used to be center stage. Yep. and there ended up being a shooting after it. Nobody got shot, but a gunshot was
Yeah.
fired. And I woke up that Monday morning to an answer machine message of mandatory meeting, Buff State, Buffalo News, shooting, Buff State Fall Fest, right? So I go sit at the student union meeting, and it's the student union government, student union board, college president, vice president, like all the powers that be. And they are just laying into me. And the one woman's like, well, we noticed you've been withdrawing for like the last like 7.5 years. And literally at this time, I was negotiating a deal to move to Jersey to sell my business and book concerts out in New Jersey. So again, I was probably being a little more crass than I should have been, but I was like, yo, like, screw you guys. You took advantage of the students. We've delivered you guys sold out show after sold out show. The one woman has a relationship with Lenovo's. I'm like, every time an organization has a pizza party, you use Lenovo's. Well, why would I go out to somebody else to do the booking when I actually do that as a career?
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's no rules against it. And you guys are getting everything you want. So, the student president and school president agreed to modify the students' constitution about the expenses that students pay when doing events on campus. So we did a vote, unanimous, to amend it. The second they said amend it, they put in that the entertainment chairman has to carry a 3.0 GPA, which got me out, has to get voted on every single year, and they wouldn't allow student organizations to do any events off campus anymore. So it kind of backfired. The flip side is all the students till today get all the rooms for free. So it was kind of this weird, like, I won, but I was like, oh shit, this was crazy. But like, to know that they did that because of me was pretty nuts.
Well, you found not necessarily a loophole, but
right.
enough of a loophole and did your thing for long enough.
Right. And then luckily for me, I literally built my career using Buff State's money, because I was booking bigger bands.
Sure.
Like, I mean, with real agents, I mean, we're doing 4,000 people a show. Those are considered like small arena shows. So it took me from like the small clubs to that level pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And it put me in this echelon when I'm going to like South by Southwest or CMJ in New York. People are putting faces to the names now because I've booked this, I've worked with that, I'm doing the emails. So now all of a sudden I have the relationships. All these kids that are going to school,
everything,
getting their degrees with music business, are coming out like, all right, what do we do now? And it's like, I've got 8 years of like emails and texts and phones, calls, whatever. Like, good luck, So it gave me a really strong head start in the industry.
How's that degree look now?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's funny because it got to the point where my parents were like, why are we fucking paying for your school?
Sure.
So I took it over, but it was a write-off because I had to keep the account to keep the business.
Right.
So it actually, worked out for the business. And it was pretty crazy. So from there, literally my career snowballed from a concert promoter standpoint. I was just in it. Mm-hmm. It became my profession, and it more or less has stayed that way for 25 years.
That's incredible.
So yeah, we're still going strong. I have an office in Buffalo and Syracuse now. We do a little over 300 concerts between Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and Albany. Everything from 200 to 300 cap rooms to like really large stuff. We do all the shows at Riverworks now. I own Recck Room, so that's like a 400 cap club. Over the years, I've seen a lot of clubs open and close. So that kind of forced my hand in 2013 to open my own club, which was called Waiting Room on Delaware.
I know it well.
Had zero experience owning a club. Thought a true, like, I know everything. It'll be fine. Industry, I have no fucking idea what it's about, and learned everything what not to do.
Right.
So, I'm a half full guy, everything I do, even though I lost and had to shut it down, lost basically my life savings on it. It brought me to Recck Room,
right,
which was kind of the opposite, where I like made my life savings. So it was this weird, like, eye-opening kind of like moment.
What made you want to get back into it after you had kind of lost?
I didn't lose because we weren't doing real business. I cut a shit deal. And
with the lease, or
the lease.
Gotcha.
The lease was a shit deal, triple net. I was paying out the ass. I did the full renovation myself. So I was already at, $500,000 going into the place with a payment. So it was like learning all those things. And I'm literally watching Bar Rescue to like learn like nuances of like, oh, wow, all the labels should be facing out in the cooler and little things like that, which, is insulting to legit hospitality people to say. I learned from Bar Rescue would be like you watching American Idol being like, oh, I know the music business. But there was definitely a lot of pointers that put me in the right direction. But it also put me in the room now of the hospitality guys. I'm a venue owner. I own my own bar. So now, when I'm going to other places, the other bar owners are at least maybe paying a little bit more attention to me, or we're having bar owner conversations. And, my friend group's changing a little bit to people that are now in the industry.
Sure.
And I think people realize like what we had as a model was really unique. We were busy 6 to 10 All our concerts were early.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have a late night business. I didn't want to own a bar. I wanted to own a live music club.
Right.
So, I probably left a lot of money on the table not really developing a nightlife.
Mm-hmm.
We started doing live band karaoke, which was like Buffalo's only live band karaoke.
Right.
Which was, again, a niche thing that we developed and was super unique to Buffalo. Still is. We do that at Recck Room still.
Yep. Love it.
But like I said, cut a shit deal with my landlords when it came down to it. A heating, cooling, we weren't to code. I wasn't going to keep opening knowing that basically I was putting people's lives at risk because we weren't the proper fresh air intake and people were having heat exhaustion. They called my bluff because I put like, you're not going to leave. You put your life savings into this. I was like, well, I'm not going to keep putting more money into this. I don't have it. Yeah. I called their bluff. They're not going to kick me out. Vice versa. They're like, yeah, you're out. I was like, well, and they sued me and I sued them. And I think, at the end of the day, the judge let me out of my lease where they were suing me for the duration, another, 3.5 additional years. And he was like, the judge was honest. He's like, you guys took advantage of him, putting his investment in by fucking him.
Right.
You fucked up by not putting your money in escrow, which I yelled at my attorney over. You got to go. You don't own the building. So you didn't make the payments. Sucks, but lesson learned. Still to this day, I'm mad that, my attorney told me to not just keep making the payments and hold it in escrow. Flip side is we would have been a casualty of COVID 110% because the money the deal was so expensive. But Buffalo still needed that venue. Like we were doing a ton of shows.
Mm-hmm.
So literally I'm looking at 2 buildings a week, like going out, trying to find something. In that interim of me owning waiting room, I've met a ton of guys that were like, hey, you ever want to do anything else? Let me know. Throw money in, I'll throw money in, and I've never been one to ask for money. I've never one to work with, had partners. It was always my own stuff. So that idea was a little like uncomfortable, but at the same time, I'd always take the conversation and have the meeting. That's definitely one of the things I've done in my career is we'll always take the meeting. I don't care if you're a college kid that has an interview or an essay that wants to write, or you're in a different industry, but I will always meet with you to figure out where there's somewhere down the road, something, whether it's your cousin, your brother, you, me, learn something new.
I have brokers reach out to me all the time to change brokerages. And I'm like, all right, I'll sit down with you and listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable and I got a great deal where I am, but to open up that door and maintain that relationship for future deals,
100%.
It's priceless. So, especially in Buffalo.
Yeah. So I was taking meetings, I was looking at buildings, things were, looking on the up and up, but like if Buffalo had a lot of opportunities for venues, they would have already existed.
Right.
Kind of thing. So it was kind of the scenario of.
That's a tough battle. It's always like, just driving here.
Yeah.
I saw some land for sale.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, if that was such a good deal,
why isn't somebody taking it?
Why isn't somebody? And I'm like thinking about building warehouses on it, right on Worley and Transit, close to the 90 there. But again, that battle of like, if it's such a good deal, or why isn't somebody already doing it?
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, you got to get past that and just push through and
And that was my thing with waiting room was it was not your ideal concert venue. It was big.
Yeah.
We made it work. So similar to what you're saying, being in a unique niche, it may not make sense for somebody else, but it might make sense for your business model, right? If you open up a comic book store, this smaller storefront on the corner of Worley and Transit might be sexy to you for $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Where for me, it's like $5,000 a month. Like I'm not doing that for a law office or whatever. So I think it's unique to what you're doing. And I was at a buddy of mine's wedding. My wife and I went out after for some drinks at the Curtis, and my partner now, Dale, who used to own Encore, was there with his wife. They were at the wedding, and he's like, yo, we should do something together. I'm like, dude, you're a nightclub dude. Like, you're the bar guy. He's like, yeah, you're busy 6 to 10. I'm busy 11 to 4.
Sure.
Like, if we came together, we're going to be busy all the time.
Great thought.
And I was like, interesting. And I think it was at a unique time, too, because, like, when I grew up and went to high school in my early, younger years, I skateboarded. You were like, tattoos weren't pop culture yet.
Mm-hmm.
The skateboarder kids, are the fucking scumbags or the weirdos. But now all of a sudden, like, it's like cool to be like punk rock. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I think the worlds could coexist. And what was unique I thought about Waiting Room, and which I think is about Recck Room too, is the kids that go to the show, and I call everybody kids, but the people that go to the shows feel like Recck Room is theirs.
Mm-hmm.
The people that go to bottle service on Saturday nights feel like Recck Room is theirs. I got guys that love going to Bills games at Recck Room. Recck Room is theirs.
Right.
Like we've been able
to
the
draft party tomorrow. I'm like,
are you really? Yeah. So we've created this like business that has 9 different revenue streams in the same box.
Yep.
We've decorated to the point where everybody feels comfortable. We're on a street that sometimes isn't the most inviting, especially bringing, adults back to the district. Everybody's got these like crazy stories of the Chippewa in the heyday.
Sure.
But with the programming that we're doing, whether it's dueling pianos, live band karaoke, the Bills draft parties, large scale fundraiser events for punt, things like that, it's reintroducing the Chippewa district to those 30 plus people, making them feel comfortable, but still finding that balance where like that 21-year-old comes in and is like, wow, this is the spot.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was Dale's idea. And I'm like, listen, the guy that owned McMonkey's / The Lodge has been hounding me to check out their building. You want to look at it? I'm like, you want to go to Chippewa?
I forgot about the Lodge.
Yeah. And this is right when the Westin was going in.
Yep.
500 Pearl was being built. The Avant was just built. So there's all this hotel development within a 1 block radius. We're like, wow, we might get in kind of on the ground floor of like all these people coming to town and things. So we took the meeting and literally I got there a little early. Dale came in and Adam, the old owner, was like, you doing this with Dale? And we're like, yeah. And he was like, the only landlord I've ever dealt with is like, you write the deal. We wrote the deal. He came back less. He's like, that's how important. If I can get Encore and waiting room into this building, what that's going to do for the street, the snowball effect of bringing the masses down here. He owned the whole block. So the 67 West building, bottoms up, all those things, like he saw the big picture. And we were like, we're going to Chippewa. And
I mean, that's cool that both you and Dale had such a reputation already.
Yeah.
That somebody took less money to be able to work with you.
And you don't think about it because, you know, I feel like you're in a bubble sometimes when you're in your industries and you hear about what people say about you, more or less the negative, but it's rare that you hear the positives. Right. And then when people do start talking positive, you're like, what? You're like, what? I'm like, dude, stop. But being in the industries that we're in, I mean, Encore was the spot for 10 years.
Yeah.
And Dale's still in my phone is Dale Encore. Dale.
I think he might be in my phone as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Encore, Chris Encore, Dale.
Right. So he was the guy that made everybody feel like $1 million. Yeah. And my friends included, we'd go there and Dale would like just hand us a bottle of liquor, be like, have fun. And we were like, who is this dude? Because we didn't really know him. Yeah. But made all our friends feel comfortable. Now, looking back, now it was a $4 bottle of sake.
Right.
That we would chug and then end up buying a real bottle and buying everybody shots.
Right.
So he knew the game.
Didn't matter. I mean, that's customer service. Right. That's everybody wants to go to the bar or the restaurant or the club where you feel like you're the man.
Exactly.
Right? Like
everybody they know your name. They give you a little VIP treatment.
I remember when I had my video game stores, Chris, the manager, reaches out to me having an 80s party, right? And I own video game stores. So he's like, hey, do you got any retro stuff that you can bring down here? Absolutely. Brought down 4 TVs, all in carts. And you know, just, it's like, what do I owe you? I'm like, dude, you've already paid me.
Yeah.
Right. For how much I've actually not spent here.
Right.
We're good.
Yeah.
He's like, no. He's like, next time you come in, you got a bar tab. Well, I didn't go in for a couple weeks, months, whatever it was. And I walk in with a couple buddies and I see Chris and he's just like, your tab's on me tonight. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mike, it's your birthday. Like, let's
go. Yeah. Dude, that's
and
stuff.
We made a mess.
But those are nights you don't forget about, you know? And
I told that story so many times.
I believe it. It's super unique, I think, in the industry because not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
But you keep that two-way street. Like, hey, he did something for you. You do something for him.
I mean, even with the restaurant industry now, like, you know, my wife and I, we have a 3-year-old, but before then, like, we're going out to dinner 3-4 nights a week.
Right.
Well, we're going to the places because Buffalo's a small town. Yeah, we know the owners, great food. We go in, or, you know, they'll sit us at the bar or the table immediately. There's no wait. That's what I love about
service.
Buffalo.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's 1 degree of separation, and it is that small scale where like word travels fast, you know, good and bad.
Yeah, if you do ship business in this town, you're done.
Yeah, you're absolutely
you'll never survive.
It's no matter what industry you're in. And I learned that at an early age, not from me, but like from other people that were in our industry. The music industry is always kind of considered slime balls and scummy, and it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be.
Sure.
So we kind of did it differently, and I think that's what worked. I think Dale has a great reputation, and when he kind of pitched that idea, it was like, let's roll the dice. And my wife loved Dale. She used to hang her artwork up at Encore, so to kind of get her to sign off on a bar on Chippewa, it was a little tiresome, but we were in our 40s, maybe 38, married. He was engaged. Like, we were just over the party spot. It was kind of like, hey, we're doing this for business.
Sure.
And I think that's also what set us apart.
We're in your 20s and 30s.
You're looking to get laid. There's sex, 100%. Drugs, and rock and roll. And I think what was unique for us was we were just focused. We both learned a ton at our old spots, and coming together, it was just like, wow. Like he's the peanut butter to my jelly, the yin to the yang. Where like things that he's really, really good at, I suck at.
That's awesome.
Things that I'm really, really good at, he's just like, yo, I don't know shit about payroll, POS. It's like, we were a really good partnership, and it's led to, like, we've been there 8 years now, or at least it's up for renewal next year.
I love when I run into Dale, like, especially when you guys first got started, and he's talking about going to clubs in other cities just to learn what they're doing to bring it back to Buffalo.
Right.
And nobody was doing that here.
No.
Right. They were just opening a bar and they'd have their burgers during the day and then, make a shit show at in the night. And it was just banking on.
I mean, we do these R&D trips, and we went to Chicago this one day. We rented a car service.
Can I get in on those?
100%. We had 62 spots, whether it was a speakeasy to the dive bar for the one sandwich. Like, it's like, who's known for what one thing?
Yeah.
But you have a drink at every spot.
Yeah.
62 spots. He doesn't get hungover.
That's wild.
I can't do that. So doing these trips with him, you gotta find a balance. But we've done Toronto, we've done San Diego, Vegas, we've done London, Barcelona, Portugal, to find the speakeasy within the speakeasy. Right. And I think that's 100% what steps, we're not reinventing the wheel at Recck Room by any means, but we were some of the first ones to do the selfie stations, get people organically posting shit for free. And just from, like, the interactive cocktails and things that we're seeing that are the trend is moving towards.
I'll tell you,
we stole these ideas from somebody else. We didn't invent this.
I'm in my mid-40s, and I see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Recck Room's so cool. I want to go there. Yeah. And then I'm also like, bro, you're 43.
Right.
Like, that's why I'm going to the draft party.
Yeah.
And not Friday night.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where that's our biggest dilemma, is just how do we create these events that are welcoming to the adults to get you guys back in the district. It's with post-COVID, people working from home, downtown's still 30% less dense from people working downtown than it was pre-COVID. So the lunch days are over. There's no weekday lunch business at all, which we were never in the lunch business, but having those workers downtown Thursdays, Fridays at 5 to try to create some sort of happy hour, some sort of, like, early entertainment, it's like pulling teeth. And, I guess moving forward, the next chapters of our careers, whether it's, I'm a politician now in Kenmore.
I was going to bring that up.
Of a 501c3 in Chippewa. So now working with, like, the more public sector and trying to figure out these avenues to re-engage the community, get them downtown, reintroduce them to Chippewa as a safe adult district.
I think that's impressive for you, by you, to do that, to, hey, give back to the community, but also, like, hey, how do I fix these things? How do I change these things?
Right.
And the only way to change and fix these things sometimes is to do it yourself.
Yeah, which has always been my motto, which is also really annoying. I would love to sit in a meeting and somebody sits down and says, hey, I got this. You're like, that would be a breath of fresh air. Sure. But unfortunately, even if they do, they just don't move at a speed that I'm used to. It's like, no, it's got to go tomorrow. Yeah. And sometimes that's the biggest hurdle too, just dealing with, like, the city red tape. It's like, guys, like, we got to move. I
first started my business on Delaware Ave in Kenmore.
Yeah.
Kenmore Village Improvement, whatever, in society, right?
Like, KVIS,
they literally ran me out of town. Like, it was just fighting over a sign.
Right.
And I'm just like, guys, I don't need this. I'm going to go a mile down the street to Tonawanda.
Right.
And I don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, the building inspector's in the office every day. Your guy only approves signs once a month. Like, this is a 4-month battle. I'm like,
yeah, no way.
And for me, I was 26 at the time, like, hot shot, like, I own my own business. Go fuck yourself. Right. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. You're 60 years old.
Yeah. I mean, there's some truth to it. I mean, I've only been to maybe 6 meetings now because I just started in Kenmore, but it's not that it's archaic. It's just, it's worked. It's a small village. It's 1 square mile.
Yep.
So it has some of that, like, small village, small town, like, old school mentalities, but you have to be pro-business. The business is bring the people into the village.
And that's the part that irritated me,
spend the money.
Right.
And
I was like, drive down Delaware Ave. And there's a lot of incredibly locally owned businesses on this. But then next to it is a vacant storefront with, cardboard on the windows or cracked. Like, it's just like business, vacancy. Like,
yeah, it's tough. And like you said, you have a 3-year-old. I have a 4-year-old boy, a 1-year-old boy. We just did a renovation at our home. I'm not going anywhere in Kenmore. We own commercial real estate. My wife had a boutique there.
Oh, I love Kenmore.
I'm vested, and I want to make sure that it changes. As things change, as the times change, we need to change with them. So when this opportunity came up to join the board, it was like maybe a little fast forward, a little faster than I was hoping. Right. But the seats don't, I mean, they're 4-year terms, and next thing you know, it's 20 years and you've been on the board. So I said, I'd rather have a seat at the table than not. I'm 1 of 5 people, but these are the votes that are picking the Airbnb laws and the decibel limits for bars and restaurants and outdoor dining and tax abatements for people coming to do development in Kenmore, like to actually have a vote on this. And knowing that I'm not going anywhere is super important, selfishly, but also I think for the betterment of the community. So it's really weird to kind of go from like the punk rock days of, you know, just doing shows and doing stuff for fun. And then now it's money. And now it's like, okay, well, businesses are doing well. Now what can I do to, you know, not just even further our business, but like develop more relationships, but have a more of a longer lasting effect in the communities.
Kenmore soon?
You never know. You never know. You never know.
Could they have a mayor?
They have a mayor.
Oh,
yeah, they got a mayor. He's been there a long time too. So he's great. But yeah, you never know. Like I said, I'm 6 meetings in, so we're just taking it day by day.
So I guess what's next? What do you see in your future? Do you have anything like coming down the pipeline, or are you, hey, listen, I got my hands full with business, family, and community, right?
Yeah.
Some of your volunteering stuff that you're doing. Any new business opportunities coming up, or are you just kind of?
It's definitely more public sector than private.
Yep.
Like I said, the businesses that I have after dark, we've been in business since 2001. I have a great team there. You know, I have basically weekly meetings, but like it kind of steers itself. Recck Room has been amazing to us. You know, Dale and I are always looking at other opportunities for some different things. The hospitality industry is definitely changed over the last couple of years. Sure. Now that marijuana is legal and it's edibles and it's microdosing and it's mocktails, you know, people don't just go out to get like messed up anymore, sure. Which is fine. Yeah, it's just different. But you just got to reinvent yourself. Right. And, you know, that's one thing, again, with the traveling that we've done, seeing concept and ideas in another city, I think it's an easy thing to kind of bring back to Buffalo. So we are working on a couple concepts in some spots locally. Nothing's happened yet, but knock on wood, one of these things does come fruition. But again, it's you know, more boards, more not-for-profits, helping out, creating cool activations. I mean, my background really is events, but it is business, right? So I mean, whether I'm a concert promoter, I owned ATMs for a long time. I was a realtor for 6 years.
I don't think I knew that.
Oh yeah, I was a realtor. So you know, I can tell you that story too. But I did real estate for 6 years. You learn a lot, and it's just like, you know, being on a board or joining a thing like the trustee position, Kenmore, like you've seen it from all different angles, and you can kind of feel what these other businesses are feeling. And it's like, yo, let's kind of white glove it for a second. Sure. The option is an empty storefront, or we support a business that's been here for X amount of years. Yeah, it may not be the norm request. Yeah, I guess they want to go a little louder with music. Well, at the end of the day, there's nobody even around them. Like, and you don't have to do it for everybody. We can do individual sort of things. So I think just figuring out ways to navigate those waters without pissing everybody off, because the political world is different than just the business world. Sure. But it's fun. It's different. It's something I've never been involved in before. It's definitely something that's a little bit above my pay grade, but with ChatGPT and AI, I go home and I type it in and say it, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? The next thing you know, it's like, there's the answer. So I'm an expert on everything now. So yeah, it's pretty wild. What the internet's for. I learned to do a lot of stuff with YouTube. Yeah. I.e. tile and certain things. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Well, listen, I mean, in the true sense of the definition of entrepreneur, you're exactly that. Love to hear the background story. It's an incredible upbringing that you had. And when's the last time, did you even ever work for anybody else? Yeah, so in 2005, when I moved to Jersey, I went and worked for a local promoter out there, and then worked there for a year. Did Dane Cook's first shows at Madison Square Garden. Nice. Was booking Foo Fighters at the Continental Airlines Arena. So we were doing like monster shows. And like I said, there's not a lot of people in our business that do what we do. So some other bigger companies took notice, and I kind of got poached to go to work in New York, running the upstate office for a New York City company, which at the time, the company Metropolitan, the owner was a legend, booked the original Woodstock. Oh, wow. If you saw the Woodstock documentary recently, he's the dick in there talking about how the girls asked for it and isn't the most genuine, nice guy. And I learned that while I was there as well. So, yeah, did that stint in 05 to 08, was gone. Came back to Buffalo in 08, ran the upstate office though, but from Buffalo, because I had the t-shirt printing company where we did the I Heart Buffalo hockey, I Heart Buffalo football, and was right when the Sabres were going into the playoffs and stuff. And we learned early that females wanted form-fitting gear. Yep. The men always wore the jerseys. Sure. The girls wanted something cute. American Apparel, let's go. I Heart Buffalo hockey was huge. Then I was like, well, football, Irish. Let's whore it out a little bit. But it was huge. So I came back to finish, that business that was happening. Nice. And, left there and restarted After Dark again, I think in 08 or 09, and here we are. Well, I think we're at a point in our lives where now having a wife and kids
and being an entrepreneur, you work hard, but then you also have that availability and flexibility to just kind of be dad and be husband and be around.
Yeah, I definitely have flexibility. I don't know if it's the availability, because
it is.
The phone's still ringing, the emails are still coming in, and that's where I got to find this happy medium.
Well, that's why my phone's all the way over there, flipped upside down on silent, because I know how many times it's already gone off.
I'm sure.
While we're sitting here.
Yeah, your 3-year-old. I mean, next year I think we're doing Little League tonight, soccer Saturdays.
We haven't
dance.
Even,
I mean, you haven't gotten that stuff yet, right?
Even
so,
but
literally
we're right on the edge of it.
Yeah, it's nuts, but it's the stuff that I want to be at. It's the stuff I'd much rather be doing than being at the bar late night or even being at a show. So that's why I was going to find that balance now of dad life, husband life, still making money to provide for the family, but maybe not work as much. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job. Listen, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Chris, why don't you just give your contact or anything like that? Anything you want to promote?
Sure. So Recck Room, reckroombuffalo.com. Tons of events for all ages, dueling pianos, live band karaoke, tons of concerts. We have, what I think is one of downtown Buffalo's best nightlife scene on Saturdays. The Bills season's coming up. We do the Monster Bills parties out on Chippewa, huge video walls inside. We have an awesome kitchen. People don't know about Recck Room's food. Dale really is a food connoisseur, and he's traveled everywhere for it. He's brought a lot of cool recipes back. So if you do come to Recck Room, I encourage you at least try something. And then AfterDarkPresents.com is my concert company. Tons of upcoming shows there. Feel free to check that out. If you're opening a new business, consider Kenmore. We'd love to have you come into the village. At least maybe come take a tour and check out all things that are exciting in the little village of Kenmore.
Well, I'm glad you're in charge over there and you're putting your footprint or fingerprint on things and making some change. So thanks for being on Let's Know Buffalo.
There we go, bud. Appreciate it. Thank you.